Fantastic.
And I
Well,
think,
that's pretty good. I think we did well today. I hope everybody was inspired a little bit, and yeah, some
what time is it
interesting.
now?
It's time for our finest NGC corner.
Night.
All right, so let me share my stellarium and get going on that. So we're doing our insider's guide, on a two-week schedule, rotation. So that means that every now and again we're in a moon-filled period. So it turns out that actually tonight we've got a very, very bright moon. It's a day ahead of full moon, tomorrow's full moon, that lunar Mars occultation full moon. But that's okay, because the features that I'm going to share, the objects I'm going to share, you can actually wait a week, and the moon will be mainly rising after midnight, and it'll leave your evenings clean and clear to tackle some of these features. So let's get the scene set here for the nighttime sky and pull up some terrific objects to look at. So what's nice is that we've got these nice early sunsets that give us objects, plenty of time to look at the objects. And the first one on my list here is, and again, these are all items from Alan Dyer's finest NGC list in the Observer's Handbook. The first one up is NGC 253, which is actually very southerly. So let me just bring that one up here. So it's down here in Sculptor. And for Canadians, it's a bit of a challenge because it doesn't have a very, it has a very southerly declination. This one will actually culminate, rise to its highest point due south around 7:30 p.m. or so. So that's when you'd kind of want to tackle it. And this is a very bright, just center it up here, very large and bright and nearly edge-on spiral galaxy. It's discovered by Caroline Herschel in 1783. It's the Herschel lists object class 5-1, so first object in their class 5 list. Again, as I said, it's a bit tricky because it's so southerly. It's visible in binoculars, maybe not so much when it's hugging the horizon in Canada, but if you do get to a location where it climbs a little higher in the sky, it's certainly visible in binoculars. Any size of telescope should be able to pick it up. It's 7.5 degrees south of the star Beta Ceti, Difta or Deneb Katos on some maps. And another way you can look for it is to, let's see, if you can see, it's about midway between Fomalhaut. So we've got the star Fomalhaut here. And let's see, Sigma Ceti, so it's around here. So if you can see the sort of bottom of the neck of Cygnus, then you should be able to find the galaxy about midway along that line. So it's sitting right here. In terms of looking at it in a backyard telescope, let's see if we can pull it up. This is the 6-inch Dobsonian with a 26mm Plössl lens, just to give you a sense of it. So when you're looking for this one, observing this one, you want to note its size, its orientation, the relationship between the brightness and sizes of the core of the galaxy and its disk. It's about 11.4 million light years away. So it's actually one of the closer galaxies to us after Triangulum and the Andromeda galaxy. And there's actually a globular cluster, NGC 288, just in the neighborhood. Let's see, there's NGC 288. So if I center this one up, take off the view, then there's that globular cluster. So that's a very southerly one of our. Next one up is up in Andromeda. That's the blue snowball. That's NGC 7662. So look at that, NGC 7662. Again, in early evening, it's close to the zenith, the green Z here. This is one of Caldwell's objects. So he picked this as one of the celestial showpieces. It's not something that that Messier picked up on because it's quite tiny. It's small, but it's relatively bright. Discovered by William Herschel in 1784. It's his class 4-18, object 18. It makes an equilateral triangle with, back a little bit here so you can see. So if you can see the great square of Pegasus and find the stars Alpheratz and Chiat, it sort of makes an equilateral triangle to the north of that side of the great square. So that's kind of a great way to get yourself in the right neighborhood. Let's see. It's also, if you can see the star Lambda and Omicron, then again, it's sort of halfway between them, but offset a little bit back towards the great square. So that's a couple. This one will benefit from using an oxygen 3 filter. But of course, you do use the oxygen 3 filter after you've already located the object, because the oxygen 3 filter will dim all the stars and make your star hopping a little bit harder. So once you've got it in the eyepiece, then you can swap in your filter to brighten up the nebula. You might want to see if you can notice any color to it. Maybe you could detect the central star in it, might be. This is neat. I actually viewed this object through the DDO's 74-inch telescope. I was lucky enough to do that years ago. And what's neat about it is that that telescope is so big that everything's in full color when you look at nebula's DDO telescope. So that's kind of a little feather in the cap that I've got. This is about 6,000 light years away. My perpetual favorites, and that's the ET Owl cluster. Just bring this up into view, and I'll just get rid of all these clutters. So this is the the W of Andromeda, the W of Cassiopeia. You've got Andromeda Galaxy sitting here. And if you look at the deep V and the shallow V that make up Cassiopeia, what I like to do is I like to imagine that Navi and Rukba kind of make a right angle triangle, and the right angle triangle corner will be this cluster. So it's NGC 457. Otherwise known as the owl, the ET, the dragonfly. You'll see two bright yellowish stars for the eyes. You'll see a couple of stars down your, what would represent the feet. And then if you kind of squint, you'll see a sprinkling of stars that make a body and two up curving arms. Now, of course, it'll be oriented at different directions at different times of the year, but it's a fantastic cluster to show people during outreach events, because they'll notice, they'll see the pattern of the picture that you're describing. That was great. So that was discovered by William Herschel in 1780. It says class 7-42. And let's see what else. It's visible in binoculars. It's pretty tiny in binoculars, but you can certainly see it in binoculars. But it's great in a telescope around 100x. So if I put in the telescope view here, you can see that this is around 30x. So if you make it 100x, it'll nicely fill your field of view. When you're looking at it, you want to note the sort of balance between the brighter stars, the fainter stars. See if you can estimate how many stars there are that you're seeing. And it's about 5,200 light years away from this. Okay, another open cluster in the neighborhood is the Lawnmower Cluster, or NGC 663. So that's down here. So if you take that W of Cassiopeia, go to the final leg of the constellation, the final stretch of it, and just offset yourself a little bit to the sort of Perseus side, away from the North Celestial Pole. It's midway, and you'll see that there's this open cluster. Lawnmower Cluster was discovered by William Herschel in 1787. It's his class 6, number 31, and it's visible in binoculars, no problem, and any size of a telescope, but you don't want to over magnify it because it's pretty substantial in size. So there's the view at 35x. When you're looking at it, you want to note its shape. You want to look at the quantity of stars, their distribution, note any differing stars that are a bit of a different color. And then there also are nearby clusters to that. So if I bring up so you can see that all of these yellow dotted circles are other star clusters in the neighborhood while you're enjoying that one. Okay, next up, now we've got a galaxy. So NGC 772. This one is actually written up in the current Sky News magazine. It's in Aries. So here's the Aries sort of hockey stick shape. Just for context, you've got Taurus and Mars down here to the southeast. And then you've got the Andromeda Galaxy sitting above. So if you can find the bright stars of Aries. See if you can see Hamal and Sheridan, which will be no problem. And then look for fainter Mesarthim, which is Gamma. And then to find the Fiddlehead galaxy, you just need to make a right angle. So if you take the distance from Sheridan down to Mesarthim, or Mesarthim, and jump by that same amount at a right angle down towards Taurus, then you should be in the neighborhood of the Fiddlehead galaxy. This is actually one of Halden Arp's galaxies because it's a bit peculiar. It's got this strange enhanced arm that sticks out. So it's discovered by William Herschel in 1785. It's this number class 1-112. Remember, his class 1s were nebulas. He thought they were nebulas. It's bright enough. The center of it is bright enough for a smaller telescope in a dark sky, but if you have a 6-inch telescope or bigger, that'll be better for you. You can, let's see, note its size, note its shape, describe the core versus the disk, and maybe you could make out the arm if you've got a bit of a bigger telescope. That'll be a neat thing to note if you can. There actually is a little elliptical galaxy right nearby, which will be hard in a smaller telescope, but we think that the interaction between these two objects has perhaps caused this strange feature to form on the main galaxy. All right, now we're up to another planetary nebula, IC 289, which is up here near the Heart and Soul Nebula. So here we are with Camelopardalis and Cassiopeia. So we're down at the bottom underneath Cassiopeia. There's the bright star Murphak for context. So this was not a discovery by William Herschel because he just would have trouble seeing such a tiny little planetary nebula. And by the way, even Stellarium doesn't have an image for it. So I have to switch on the Deep Sky Survey image so you can see it. It was discovered by Lewis Swift in 1888. It's pretty faint. It's about 2.6 degrees northwest of the medium bright star CS Cam. See if we can find CS Cam on here, which is this one. What I did is I just basically put my view onto CS Cam and I star hopped using a 1.5 degree field of view, stopping along the way at this neat little asterism that you can see here, and then jog up to the nebula. So it's one of those that will be enhanced or brightened by an oxygen 3 or a UHC filter, and maybe use averted vision to see if you can pick up some more details in it. And last up, we have the Silver Needle Galaxy, which is NGC 891. Where are we here? 891. So this one's located. So here we are. The Great Square of Pegasus is off screen. We have Andromeda extending down to the west, down to the east here, and near the star Almach, so between the Murphak and Almach region. So this is a nice, center it up for you. Beautiful sight. It's a faint but reasonably large galaxy. It's impressive, edge on. It's got a dark dust lane, which would be observable in a bigger telescope. Discovered by William Herschel in 1784. It's number 19 on his class 5 list. It is better in places with darker skies and if you've got a bigger telescope. 3.6 degrees east of Almach. It's about a third of the way along the line connecting Almach to Algol. Algol is the variable star in Perseus. So if you kind of find those two stars and jog a third of the way towards Algol, then you should pick it up without any problem. You want to notice its shape, its orientation. Do you see the way it tapers to points at either end? Maybe you can detect the dust lane. You want to note how bright or how dim the core looks and things like that, and pick up any field stars in the neighborhood. There are some field stars that sort of impact the galaxy itself, or a foreground of the galaxy itself. It's about 27 million light years away. And that's that. That's our set for this month.
I'm gonna steal a screen for a second, and those of you who joined our Explore the Night Sky, we had a member suggest to look at that galaxy we were just talking about, and this is what we got on the telescope. This is just a 2-minute exposure bin 2x2, so not even caliber anything, but that's what it looked like through our telescope. So if you come to one of those events, you could recommend some of these objects we're talking about and check them out.
For sure. So that's it. Hope everybody has a great holiday.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. Hope you get some observing done, and the skies are nice, and you can see the occultation of moon and Mars as well.
Well, the holiday period is more or less moonless. So a few days before Christmas until almost New Year's, it's pretty moonless. So that's a good opportunity while people are off work. Thank you
And-
so much for joining us, Bill.
Thank you for
thank
having me,
you.
guys. Really enjoyed being here. And
Terrific.
thanks to everybody who's watching and stuck with us for this.
So just a reminder, we're not going to be back until January 17th. So we're not back the day after New Year's. So we're going to take a little bit of a break until then. Our schedule, and during that time, we'll be posting our new schedule up on ras.ca/insiders guide. And yeah,